Part we're going to talk about is referred to as little brain. It actually takes up 10% of the brain and has half of the brain's total neurons. It is the cerebellum. The location is the bottom of the brain. It's tucked underneath both cerebral hemispheres. It's posterior to the cranial fossa. It is also posterior to the fourth ventricle pons medulla, and there it's in front. You can see here. Here's the cerebellum. You can see it's tucked under the hemisphere, and here's the brainstem, so it's just behind that. To get a closer look at the cerebellum, this is what it looks like. It's split into two hemispheres, and it also has a midline known as the vermis. Here's the left hemisphere. Here's the right hemisphere. I also went ahead and color-coded the anterior lobe and the posterior lobe. So here's the anterior lobe and the posterior lobe. The outer surface is gray matter, and it's very tightly folded, embedded within its white matter, which is sometimes called the arbor vitae, which is the tree of life because it's branch tree-like appearance. You can see a sectional view of the cerebellum right there, so you can see its branch tree structures. So that's what a sectional view of the cerebellum looks like. The cerebellum is responsible for balance, coordination of muscles and the body. It does not initiate, but it contributes to the coordination and prescribed accuracy. Voluntary tasks such as walking and writing would be some of those movements. Now, patients who have suffered an injury to this area would struggle with keeping their balance or maintaining their accuracy during difficult tasks. Now, the cerebellum receives input from sensory systems of the spinal cord and from other parts of the brain and integrates these inputs to fine-tune motor activity. So first, it receives information from the motor cortex of the cerebrum. The cerebellum composes intention with current body position, and then the cerebellum sends back to the cerebral cortex to continuously adjust and fine-tune the motor commands. Now, impairment by alcohol and disease would not necessarily cause paralysis or intellectual impairment, but it would probably lead to a lack of balance, slower movements, tremors. Complex tasks would become unsteady and halting. So typically if you see someone who has had a lot to drink, they kind of walk a little funny, talk a little slower, and this is because of impairment due to the cerebellum. It's also involved in higher functions such as learning new movement patterns, and it participates in cognition, language, problem solving, and task planning. So one last time, this is the cerebellum. Two hemispheres, one midline. And something easy to remember is that it is involved in the intention of the motor pattern, balance, coordination, so on and so forth.